Welcome back to Behind the Track. Last week, we talked about November Rain, a song with a powerful story behind it. And if you haven't seen that episode yet, it's a great follow-up after this one. Today, we're diving into another iconic ballad, one that wasn't born in a recording studio or a boardroom, but in a garage. This is the story of Take My Breath Away. The producers of Top Gun, Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, were desperate. They listened to over 300 songs from different composers. None of them felt right. The only thing they had locked in was the instrumental opening theme, the now iconic Top Gun anthem, composed by Harold Faltermeyer. But the emotional centerpiece, still missing. That's when they called Giorgio Moroder. He'd just won an Oscar for Flashdance What a Feeling, and the studio was eager to replicate that success. They hoped he could work the same magic. Moroder quickly came up with 2 tracks. One of them was Danger Zone. But before Kenny Loggins recorded it, the song was offered to Bryan Adams. He turned it down. Why? Because he felt the movie carried a militaristic message he didn't agree with. He wasn't the only one who walked away. The band Toto was also considered, but they dropped out due to contract issues. When it came to Take My Breath Away, lyricists, all unavailable. That's where fate stepped in, through a garage. Tom Whitlock, a young mechanic, had just repaired the brakes on Moroder's Ferrari.
Up pulls a man in a red Ferrari and asks if I could help him with his brakes. And I did, and his name was Giorgio Moroder, and we became fast friends. He started calling me up quite frequently.
They struck up a conversation, and Whitlock casually mentioned that he also wrote lyrics. Moroder, intrigued and out of options, handed him a cassette with 2 demos, one for Danger Zone and the other for Take My Breath Away. Whitlock listened to the tape in his car. The title, Take My Breath Away, was already locked in, so he built the story around that line. 2 days later, he returned with finished lyrics. Now they needed a voice. Nunn, vocalist of Berlin, with whom he'd previously worked. According to John Crawford, bassist and co-founder of Berlin, Terry was only supposed to lay down a placeholder vocal. Giorgio was planning to hire a bigger-name singer later, but once he heard Terry's version, he loved it and decided to keep it. The rest of the band? They had no idea. In fact, none of them had heard the song until the movie premiered. They didn't play on it. They didn't write a word. When Terry heard the track, she knew it was something special, but she felt the vocal delivery needed more emotion. So she made subtle changes, adding phrasing and intensity that brought the song to life.
The melody was kind of stiff. I had nothing to lose, so I just sang it the way I wanted to, and I just kind of elongated it a little bit. I just wanted it to be more fluid, and they loved that.
The label pushed to include the song on Berlin's album because they knew the film would be massive. And just like that, Take My Breath Away became a Berlin single, despite being completely disconnected from the band's identity. It topped the Billboard Hot 100, reached #1 in the UK, Ireland, the Netherlands, and more. It won the Academy Award and the Golden Globe for Best Original Song in 1986. But behind the scenes, things were falling apart. Terry Nunn didn't attend the Oscars. The rest of the band felt like passengers in someone else's success.
At that point in time in my life, and as an egotistical musician, it was a lot easier to say, oh, that's commercial garbage, than I suck, I can't do that.
They toured Europe with Frankie Goes to Hollywood, a bright spot in an otherwise complicated time. But it wasn't enough to hold them together. Today, it's hard to imagine Top Gun without Take My Breath Away. The track won an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and became one of the most iconic songs of the decade. But for the band behind the name, it's a reminder that success can sometimes come at a personal cost, and that not every hit is a victory. If you love discovering the stories behind the music, hit subscribe. And if you haven't seen our November Rain episode yet, it's waiting for you. This was Behind the Track.